So today I picked up this Bosch RA1171 Router Table. I originally bought the Husky workbench table, which had a router plate. I don't want to get too much into that. I'll leave the link below of kind of my preview and why I returned it, what I liked and pretty much what I didn't like and why I returned it. The Bosch table is normally 180 at Lowe's and 170 at Amazon. I bought it at Lowe's because I had a 10% off coupon, and it was $171 with tax. Amazon would have been closer to 180, and sorry, truck. And Lowe's is around the corner for me, so I was able to pick it up same day, and I was able to look at it. Not the greatest thing in the world, but not the worst either. This particular table, again, 171. Are there better tables? Absolutely. The Craig 2100, I think the model is 230. That comes to mind, and it definitely is better. The fence is better. A few things, though, about that. The Craig table is 230, and it doesn't have a power switch. This Bosch has a power switch that can control 2 outlets, so one for your router and one for your shop vac. But the Bosch also includes, as you can see, 2 feather boards, and it's not included with the Craig model. Plus, I often pick up things at Harbor Freight. This feather board is like $6. You know, again, not great, but it does its job. I use it on my saw table. So with the Craig, to buy the Craig power switch is an extra $30. So that goes from $230 to $260 plus tax. So and now you're $275 or whatever it is, and it's got to be shipped to me, and that's another 2 days. And at that point, you're getting into other territories, such as you can go with a bench dog, which is like $287. The Craig definitely has a better fence system from what I've read. Bench dog has a non-standard plate. The Craig has a standard plate, and this Bosch here definitely has a non-standard plate. It's a 1 1/8 inch composite top, and the router plate is aluminum or some sort of metal. If I use this every day, I would say sure, I'll buy the Craig or even the big Craig, that the monster, but I just don't have the room and I don't use it every day. Of course, I said the same thing about my circular saw, and now I've used it every week, and I wish I bought something a little bit better than my Cobalt, although it does a pretty good job. So I'm not going to waste time showing you what it looks like getting put together, but I'll come back on camera and show you what it looks like finished. But I'm also going to show you the back of this package before I go any further. Stand by. I got so sidetracked I almost forgot to film it. I was checking it out. Took about an hour to assemble, a lot longer than I thought. I by no means went slow, but I know how to put together prefab type furniture. So let's go over a couple of things. You have the power switch here with the removable safety pin so it can't accidentally be turned on. You open it up. There are 2 outlets in the back. Right now, only the router's plugged in. Well, it's not plugged into electric, the cord of that. And there's an extra outlet, which, as I mentioned, I'll be using for the vacuum. A few things that came with it, some extra hardware. These little plastic guides here, these fit into this T-track when you use the Bosch featherboards. The featherboards will not fit with those little tracks there. In fact, one annoying thing I found about this is when you want to take out the featherboards and you start to slide this out, these little nuts here will just fall off into nowhere, these little alignment nuts. So you got to be careful with that and make sure you don't lose them. So I'm permanently going to leave these here, I think. And I'm going to leave these Harbor Freight $6 jobs here. Reason being is the Harbor Freight has these pieces of plastic that when you tighten the knob, it just spreads them out and holds it to the track. So they won't work up here, but they'll work fine here. I usually use these on my table saw. Here's the fan shroud, the dust shroud, protection shroud that helps with removing sawdust a little better and keeps your fingers out of the way. You loosen 2 knobs on the back. Let's see, let me shut this here. And you loosen these 2 knobs right here, and these will slide out where you can use up to I think it was 3.5 inch bit, and there you go. Okay, so let me slide these back in, or I don't have to. And one thing I want to do is I'm going to take these out right here And these little nuts, as I told you, will fall out. But I didn't want to forget that there's a starter pin right there. You can unscrew it, and you can you know, use it freehand without the fence kind of thing. I got the 1/4-inch collet in there right now because I just bought the router, and I bought a couple of cheap bits just to kind of play around with it. The instructions were pretty good about telling you what holes to use for the router. This type 1 or 2, and then A and B. I used B because it was a Bosch router, which is 1, 2, 3 holes. The factory plate uses the four holes, and the screws came with the Bosch router. And there's also a little hole here, which is for the wrench that came with the Bosch router, and get that in there. You can't lower it immediately. You have to go in here. You have to loosen this right here. Then you come up here and you can raise and lower the router. Now if you want, you could do it in big chunks by pushing this lever and raising this up and down however you want to. But once you get this height set to where you want, you come back in here, lock this lever, shut the door, and you're off and running. I'm going to put the dust shroud back on. I'm going to put this down. It's not going to be lined up. I see the camera sliding away right now. You know, I already did this 5 times. When you're on camera, under pressure, oh my god. Okay, so that's that. On the back, you also have the dust collector. It's by 2.5 inch. And this, I tell you, this fence, the extruded aluminum, it's actually kind of nice. If I ever had to get rid of this table for some reason, I'd be tempted to keep the fence because it doesn't seem all that bad. You know, I don't have a lot of experience. I did see the Craig one. You know, the Craig is kind of above and beyond, but not for nothing, it's pretty nice. You got holes here where you can either clamp it to a surface or drill holes into a workbench, or however you want to do it. I'm not going to drill holes into the back of my truck, but I actually assembled this on the truck. And I was going to show you one other thing, but let me grab my screwdriver. So here's the back, and if you could see what it says, the top is about 15.5 inches deep, and the width is about I think it was 25. Yeah, 25 inches. Again, it includes the 2 feather boards, and it has the fence, and you can split it. It also comes with shims, so you can use it as a planer type thing. And you know, dust collection, of course. Again, it's not the greatest thing in the world, but if I'm only going to use it a couple of times a year, I think this is probably plenty. And if I want to upgrade it, well, I don't know if I can get rid of this Bosch table, but it'll probably work perfectly with my Bosch 1617 series router. So without further ado, I'll be back with the assembled table. So again, I gotta kind of lift this up and out of the way, and I'm gonna end up losing pieces again. The starter pin, I noticed, or starter, I'm assuming that's what you call it, a starter pin. It's a lot shorter than a lot of the other ones I've seen. The other ones seem to have been a lot taller. This is maybe, it's not that much above the table, you know, not but maybe a 1/2 inch. Now that that's out, I can reattach the guard. And again, it's always when you're on camera that it defeats you. Okay, I'll just hold that up in the air right now. This looks like just kind of a plate you just sit in there. It doesn't really say anything about the bookend. It just tells you about the rotation. Maybe it's just a reminder or something. I'll look more on that later. I haven't looked through the manual really. And then you got these insert rings. And I've heard these, it comes with 3. I don't recall the dimensions. One's like 1.5. The other's like 1 and 5/8, and then like 2 and 5/8 or something like that. You could check the site for that. And they just kind of snap, and you kind of, not punch them in, but lack of a better word, yeah, punch them in. And the everything else is kind of, you know, what a router table should be. Now, one thing is people will say is, oh, I've read the reviews, people complaining that it doesn't stay level, you know, or whatever the case is. And from what I read, you know, even with some of these other people who make homemade fences, you get it close enough and you tighten one side, not super tight, but then you know, you can fine tune it with one side. You know, you bring it back and forth a little, tighten that side up, tighten this side up, and you're done. You know, you open this up for the bit, you know, as close as you can without it hitting, of course, and you know, you tighten those up in the back. Again, I apologize, it's kind of close to the back, and that's it. Again, I mentioned the extra hardware, a lot of extra hardware, not quite sure why, but hey, they included it. I think they're just for different router types. Like this one is if you put a hole right through the router, maybe you're drilling your hole in the router base itself. It's a through hole. With a Bosch, it used a pre-done holes. It used 3 countersinks, which brings up another point. The Bosch, the holes were almost perfect. 2 of the holes were perfect, but this third one right here, the side of the screw rubbed, but otherwise it was good. I know this isn't the best camera job. I'm always used to working on a tripod, but that wasn't going to work for this demonstration for me. But everything, the table, the fence, everything, you know, the fence was mostly assembled. I just added the dust shroud, that was an add-on, and then, you know, the feather boards. There's the hole in the back, looks like a 2.5 inch, where the power cord will come through, and for dust collection. And I guess if you had a Y of some sort, which you can pick up at like Home Depot or Lowe's, I usually go to Lowe's because I get an extra discount. You can Y it and do it off, but you know, I hear that this door kind of muffles some of the sound, and then you can go through and vacuum it out. One of the other things I failed to mention to you is you can insert these shims. They're 1/16 of an inch thick. You can kind of see the punch out for that, and slide it behind this part of the fence. And by doing that, so you can do a 1/16 or an 1/8, you know, I would probably do 1/16 at a time, but it'll shift this forward, and you can then edge your boards. So if you know, it can act as a makeshift edger. I don't know how well it works. You know, if I had the space and the money, I'd probably buy a dedicated edger, but I don't. So you know, it is what it is, but I'm going to try it out. So the next step in this video, again, I know it's getting long, is I am going to you know, power it up, and we're going to do some test runs, and we'll see how it works. So I'll be back in just a second. So here we are again. I just have a cheap round over bit in here right now, till I know exactly what I want. It's just a 1/4 inch. Probably overdoing it with the feather boards, but you know, I don't want my fingers in the way of something spinning at 25,000 RPM. So I got the vacuum connected, and I wanted to just power it up to see what happened. It wasn't powering up, and I was like, what the heck is going on? Checking the outlet, everything, and I wired everything to the switch, but of course I forgot to turn on the router itself, you know, underneath. And once I got that squared away, I was like, oh, simple. It's unplugged right now. I will plug it in. As you can see, it doesn't work. I got the vacuum connected to the back, and the vacuum is also plugged into that same switch. Hopefully it doesn't pop breaker, but I'm about to power this up, and I just got this piece of leftover scrap here. I don't have much scraps. All my scraps actually good wood. So the fence is actually cockeyed, but that's okay because it's, you know, in out it's going to be the same. So now I'm going to power this up. It's going to get noisy, and round over bit. We'll see how this does. During my adjustment, I forgot to put the dust shield on, so it probably didn't collect as good as it should have. But both hands are free, so maybe it'll actually be easier for me to put this shield back on, or not. Yeah, this is the or not piece. Okay, there we go. But actually, it was good for showing you the video. So I'm going to pull this piece of bit out. And even though that's just a round over bit that I put through there, you'll see that I raised the bit quite a bit, so you get this kind of a profile here. Let's see if that will focus in. Yeah, man. Yeah, it's not going to focus, but hopefully you get the idea of how this is going to focus. Sorry, how this is going to look. And that's it right there. Half round over with this edge right here. It seemed to work good. I think I had the speed on a little too low, so I'm actually going to turn this on, turn the speed up, make sure it's at the speed, and then we'll try this again. Okay, so we're going to run this again at the highest speed, assuming this time it won't bog down. Get this ready again, and away we go. Okay, so hopefully that's going to focus a little better. So we saw what we did there. So I'm going to change the height of the bit, and we'll take another look, because this is supposed to be a round over bit, but you know, I raised the bit kind of high. So I'm going to pause this, and we'll get back to you as soon as I adjust it again. Just reminded myself why the dust shield wasn't in place. That was because in order to raise and lower the router, I had to take it out, so that's going to be kind of annoying. So I'm going to now go back and cut another round over on this, or round over, this time a true round over instead of what I did last time. So plug this back in, turn it on, and go for another pass. So as we can see here again, this is the first time I've actually used the router table. The bit could be lowered a little bit more. I was just eyeballing it, but that being the case, I'm unplugging it. As you notice, it doesn't turn on. I'm actually going to take out the dust shield because the big adjustment's really annoying right now. Eyeball it. Okay, so put the wrench in and release this. Eyeball it, and that looks much better than last time. Lock it in, remove it, and I'm just going to check this. Never touch the bearing to metal. You can touch don't touch the bit to the carbide itself to something metal. I'm using this as a straight edge, so now it's touching. I noticed when I did it last time, it was a little far away from the fence, and I think it's because when I lowered the bit, it kind of changed the geometry a little bit. So that's closed. Let's get this height in here, over here, set this down, and do one more pass this way. This will turn out to be an interesting piece. Plug the router back in, power up, and and actually with the dust shield in place, it makes it hard for me to use the stick. It's new to me, and at 25,000 RPM, you kind of get scared of sticking your fingers in places. Respect the tool, as they say. And that's better. Again, I don't think this is in focus too well. There's a little tight edge, which probably means I can lower the bit a little bit more. So I'm going to do that. Again, unplug the router, open the box, tool in. Just notice it doesn't spin up anymore. And I'm going to loosen the adjustment, and I am going to drop it just a hair more. There we go. And that should be good. Now, I don't think it's going to do much good without grabbing a new piece of wood, but we're going to see what happens here. That ready? Power this back up. Okay, yeah, a little bit better. That's that. So, even though that's a round over, it does create another profile there. So, a couple of different profiles here. Let's see what happens if I run the other side through again. So that was a bust. I'm going to grab another piece of wood and I'll be right back. So I'm back. There was a guy I watched the video. His name is escaping me. Mark Eaton, maybe. He does some of the Craig tool demos. And he was talking about doing round over. So if you're, let's say, making a tabletop and you're tracing out with a quarter, eventually it comes out quarter, dime, nickel, whatever. And he said the way you take care of something like that is you feed the board in this way through the router. And you would do it through all four sides. Thing is, if you have a small piece like this, there's no support. So what he usually recommends, or what he recommends, not usually, what he recommends is you kind of feed it through with something. But I'm going to do this a little different. I'm going to take one of my nicer pieces and I'm going to sacrifice that. I know one of the pieces fell. I tripped over the camera stand and things went rolling. And so I guess that means I'm just going to grab another piece of stock somewhere. But in any case, so what I'm going to do is run this board through this way, all four corners. And he also says the good side would face, this way. So this is my good side, so I'll flip it this way. Not that any of these boards have a good side. But anyway, I took out the feather boards because that's really not going to do it. And I don't have to run this all the way through. But it's going to be interesting as to how I do this, and I think what I really need is another piece of big board. So 1 second. So people often make jigs for this kind of thing. You can buy them. I don't have any, so I'm going to be using my circular saw jig and kind of push that through, and then do all four sides, and then I'll do a round over. So without further ado, here. Plug this back in. I hope I don't scare the bejesus out of myself. Some of you are probably screaming at me saying, what the hell are you doing? And I don't know, but I did get the rounded edges on some of them. This board was kind of chewed up, so you know, there's that. So now I'm going to do the round over portion the other way. So let's turn this back. So this wood wasn't too straight to start, but you could see there's a rounded over edge and the corners are rounded over. Again, this is my first time using the router, so if I'm doing something wrong, please feel free. I'm not a professional, I admit that. This is my first router table. I've only had the router for a couple of weeks. So I think I'm going to stop it there. I do have a Romanoji bit, but I don't think there's any reason to go on about it. But if you have any questions about what I've done here in this video, please feel free to ask. I would say overall, this router table is probably going to do a good job for me. I think it's more than I need. So thank you, and please comment. Thank you.